Hey folks, David Stewart here. Time for daily trending, and today we're going to start with some daily aesthetics. This time, rather than a hot girl in a bikini, it's just a pretty girl smiling. You can do a lot of work with a smile. In fact, any facial expression can do a ton of work, and in some cases, like with this one, obscuring most of the body makes the eye go towards the face and the symmetry and the beauty of the face, rather than asking the viewer to evaluate the other lines of the body, the other parts of beauty that exist on a woman's body. You're drawn to the smile, and the messages that can be communicated through a smile or through just a facial gesture are many. We're used to communicating face to face, and our facial gestures, our smiles, our frowns, all of that stuff sends extra information to the person we're talking to in addition to our words. So we're very tuned in to look at faces and get some information from them. And in this case, there's a lot of subtlety with that beautiful smile. Besides the symmetrical white teeth, you have the girl pulling down her lip just slightly, which indicates a little bit of an extra feeling, something more enticing, that she's thinking about you because she's looking at the camera. This is, of course, something that has been well staged in order to communicate these ideas, but it would be a great piece of ad copy for a product because the eye is drawn to the model and the smile and what's being communicated with the smile rather than to just the shape of the body. So if you're trying to get especially a male target particularly interested in what you're trying to sell, then that is a look that would do a lot of work for it. And it is something that is beautiful. So I thought I'd show that, just pull the body away for a day and just focus on the smile. That's great. But let's keep going, because other people yesterday mentioned the legend Frank Zane. I saw some comments saying, the king of aesthetics was Frank Zane, and truly he was an astounding bodybuilder. He was a 3-time Mr. Olympia, and he had actually beaten Arnold Schwarzenegger in at least one competition back before Arnold did his long string of Mr. Olympias. And it's easy to see why. He's got amazing symmetry and he knows how to pose. This sort of pose with the hips swung forward accentuates the size of the upper torso, particularly the lats. The lats seem to really pop out in here, and then the tricep really pops out. So it makes him look exceptionally wide. His right shoulder's turned just a little bit forward and his left shoulder's pulled just a little bit back. So his hips look narrower and his shoulders look wider, and that is the proportion you're trying to go for when you are posing as a male. You want wide shoulders. You want the shoulders to look as wide as possible because that communicates power, and so the smaller you can make the hips look, the more powerful you can make the shoulders look. You'll also notice this when women pose. A lot of times, and I'll show some other photos of this in the future, women will pose with their feet like this, one after the other, and that makes the line get much smaller, so it makes the hips look wider, and that's why you see that pose. As well as it, especially in a swimsuit, it tends to heighten the severity of what's called the pubic triangle, and that shape down there where the legs actually meet the hips, and make that look a little bit more pronounced. So there's a couple of different poses that you can do as a man or a woman to make these proportions look enhanced, and this is one of them for men. But Frank Zane is absolutely a legend in any way that you want to cut it. He's the king of aesthetics for a reason. And when you're thinking of classic physique, he is perhaps the classic physique. And here he is at age 70. He's still got it going on at age 70. This is a more direct pose, but you can still see he's got great size up top, especially for his age. He's flexing the hand downward, which will make the forearm appear larger. So if you flex the hand downward, it will bring out the forearm muscles there. And so just standing, he's doing that, popping out all of the muscles. It's a great pose. He hadn't forgot how to do it just because he happened to be 70 years old. So good on him. So aesthetics on both sides here. Let's hop into Twitter and talk about what's trending after appreciating a little bit of beauty. So a bunch of this stuff is a Trump rally in Tulsa that the news is going with a narrative that like no one showed up to this rally. But if you look at the pictures, the rally still has lots of people. It's a very, very big arena, and in fact they're going to pick and choose whichever photos are going to fit that narrative. I've heard from other sources that in reality the rally was quite full of people, and that the pictures that they chose happened to be there to really just accentuate something different. It kind of goes back to this thing, right? Where they showed the entire, like all these people for President Obama's inauguration, like no one showed up for Bush's, and they just chose a picture that happened like hours and hours beforehand where nobody had shown up yet. And in reality, lots of people did show up for the inauguration. And the reason that people are talking about this is Trump has always been able to like fill up rallies and have lots of people at rallies. But even if you didn't have a full rally, we're in the middle of a pandemic and no one else is having rallies. It's not like Joe Biden is having rallies that are stacked full of people. Donald Trump wanted to have a rally in the middle of a pandemic where everybody is afraid to go out and mix in large crowds. So what are you guys really expecting, given the timing? In fact, given the timing, it's probably that there was lots of people there. There's a lot going on as far as politics go with this sort of thing, but really it's just a momentary thing where it's like, well, this politician had a rally and not everyone showed up. So, Hillary Clinton was having rallies that were full of empty spaces. Now, the next thing with this rally is actually Tom Petty. Tom Petty's family sends a cease and desist over the use of "I won't back down" in the rally. Now, the thing here is that whenever something like this happens, you get Twitter full of people who think that they are copyright attorneys, do not understand how music licensing worked, have never been in the industry, and have no idea about how copyright works. So the reality is, and all you have to do is just think about the real life and the real world that you inhabit to know that this is pure theater. First of all, sending a cease and desist after somebody played a song at a rally, it's already ceased and desisted. So that's a pointless gesture. The gesture would be like, well, you can't play this again. But in reality, that's not the way copyright works. So copyright would have to do with you producing an identical piece and publishing it as if you own it. That's a violation of copyright in the way that people are actually thinking of. Playing a song as part of a public performance is not a violation of copyright. Now, you do owe a licensing fee for that, but the way that licensing fees are actually managed is very opaque, and most people have no clue how it happens. But all you have to do is think about, have you ever been to a wedding with a DJ? And if the answer is yes, you have to stop and puzzle. Did that DJ call up every artist and get express written permission to play that song at a wedding? Because that's a public performance of their song, and there's a phonograph rights holder, and there's a compositional and publisher rights holder as well for a recording. There's two different sets of rights. There's phonograph rights, and then there's the regular publishing rights. So did he go ahead and call them up? The answer is no. What manages all of these licensing fees are a series of companies like ASCAP, American Society for Composers. I'm actually a member of ASCAP, just full disclosure. The other one is, I think, BMI. So what you do is you pay a blanket licensing fee as a venue so that anybody that comes in can play, or maybe you want to play a cover song of the Beatles or something like that. Anybody that comes in that plays that licensing fee pays for the public performance of that work. So the fact that Donald Trump had this in an arena almost certainly means that they have a blanket license agreement with ASCAP. If they're housing Taylor Swift concerts there, that's a public performance of music. Taylor Swift does not own the copyright in total to her music. Other publishers own a portion of that, as well as the other composers of her songs. So the composers of her songs are owed royalties whenever she performs her own songs, because she doesn't completely own the copyrights. So that is paid through that ASCAP licensing fee. Likewise, if there's a hockey game, you go to the hockey game and they start playing Queen songs. We Are the Champions. See, did they call up Queen and be like, can we play this twice, 3, 5 times tonight? They played as many times as they want because it's part of a blanket agreement. They pay a large licensing fee to basically do all of this. Then there's a bunch of stuff that happens behind the scenes with ASCAP that's completely opaque and nobody knows how it actually works. We've never been able to figure out how it works. It seems like royalties are mostly assigned based on some sort of random equation, because the reality is that all these venues are supposed to turn in programs that list what songs they played when. They don't ever do that. So ASCAP just kind of portions out money to whoever they think is probably having their music played the most. So, Freddie Mercury's estate and the rest of the members of Queen get a check because they know hockey games play Queen songs a lot. And they play somebody's random music at the hockey game, then that person probably doesn't get a dime. That's the way it ends up working. You just don't really get any royalty checks unless you're one of these bigger name acts when it comes to ASCAP, which is a not-for-profit company. But it's all very opaque and basically run by the industry. So it's almost certain that Donald Trump did not illegally play any kind of song. They do this at rallies all the time. You go to a comedy show, someone plays a song as the comedian enters. They didn't call up Tom Petty and ask to play the song. That's part of their blanket license. So they've already paid. They've basically already paid the royalties to have that song played. Now, I think the only problem you might have here is that it was also broadcast. And when you're broadcasting it, that's a different license. So you'd have to pay royalties on that. So you think the Trump campaign can't afford to pay royalties to Tom Petty's estate, it's nonsense. So what we really have is somebody using the dead Tom Petty to try to beat Donald Trump around the shoulders. It's a disgrace to me, and it's also indicates that people have no idea what they're talking about when they say it's illegally playing. They just don't know. They're not in the business. They have no idea how licensing works. They have no idea how royalties are paid out. People are just completely clueless about this sort of thing. So it's just another moment for somebody who's attached to Tom Petty's estate to try to say Orange Man bad. And that's a real pity that they're going to use a dead musician's basically inheritance towards his descendants in order to do that. We would also think it was silly as if like Duke Ellington's estate called up some campaign and didn't want them to play a Duke Ellington song. Like, Duke Ellington's been dead a long time. He wouldn't want them to play that song. It's like, we don't really know that. If you paid the royalties, then that's kind of what it is. And we shouldn't really... Nobody in their right mind thinks dead Tom Petty is endorsing Donald Trump. But it's also the saying, it's like, he believed in the little guy. This is about the little guy. It's like, you mean, Donald Trump, who has the entire media trying to destroy him? As much as I don't think Donald Trump has been the effective president I wished he would have been, I have to give him credit for being assaulted on all sides by people who hate him, including the entirety of the media. Kung Flu. I really wish Kung Flu had caught on instead of the Wu Flu. I wish Kung Flu would have caught on. In fact, I think Javon Brown, who I follow on Twitter, was the first person I saw really conjuring that up, and we really wish it would have caught on, and now maybe it'll catch on. The Kung Flu. Everybody was Kung Flu fighting. And the idea that Donald Trump, with all his anti-China rhetoric, is begging them to help him get reelected is nonsense. I can't wait to see what the fallout with the Bolton thing actually is. Pizza Hut is trending. You guys remember going to Pizza Hut after the soccer game? Playing Golden Axe and wasting $10 worth of quarters to get to Death Adder? I remember. Anyway. The Death Star with 999.99 tweets. It's critting with the maximum amount. 99999 in Final Fantasy 7. There we go. Let's see. Anything else interesting? That's probably it. MS-13 is trending for some reason. We see some pictures of MS-13 guys. Oh, man. That's funny. So yeah, this MS-13 is apparently the problem in America. I guarantee you MS-13 causes more havoc than this assemblage of crazies that they went ahead and posted here. If you're going to add up the total of all the crimes and murders and everything that they do, it's going to be quite a bit. But it's MS-13 at this point is almost like a meme. So anyway, that's probably about it for today. I guess it's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to y'all. Justin Bieber's trending. I ain't clicking that. And I think I'll skip the UFC thing too, because that gets me demonetized. So anyway, guys, I'll see you guys next time. Here's another pretty girl. Here's the pretty girl smiling. And hope you guys have a great night. Talk to you later.